Okay, so today we're going to be going over everything that we learned last week. We're going to have notes. We are going to work together. Where it says we do, we're going to do it together, so make sure you follow along. And we're just going to close any gaps if you had any gaps from last week. So make sure that you put your name, date, and period, and let's get started. So we're going to be talking about one-step equations first, and here are just some notes that are going to be important. Inverse operations. This is something I have said a lot. Inverse operations are the opposite operations, or the operation that we can use to undo another operation. So the inverse operation for multiplication is division, which means that the inverse operation of division is multiplication, the inverse operation of addition is subtraction, and the inverse operation of subtraction is addition. For a fractional coefficient, the inverse is going to be multiplied by the reciprocal. If you remember, we did reciprocal. It's when you flip the fraction. Something that we need to remember is that multiplication can look different ways. It can look like the classic multiplication symbol, like an interpunct, which is kind of like a floating period, or it can look like parentheses. Now, division, we're rarely going to see division look like this. We are usually going to see it like a fraction, so the numerator divided by the denominator. And at any moment that you need to, you can pause, you can replay, whatever you need to do. So now we're going to do a one-step equation together. So when solving one-step equations, there's pretty much one step that we're going to have to do to get to the x. That step is to isolate the variable by using, like we talked about, inverse operations, which we have in our notes right here. So if I have x plus 4 equals 10, I need to do the inverse of plus 4 to undo plus 4 to get x by itself. In other words, to isolate x. So if it's plus 4 minus 4, and if you forget our inverse operations, there appears. So the inverse of plus is minus, which is why I'm doing it. And sorry, I put 5. I should have put 4. I know I did that. So plus 4 minus 4 zeros out, so the x can come down. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So minus 4. And 10 minus 4 is 6. So my answer is that x equals 6. If you need to pause the video to finish writing this down, go ahead and pause, and then we'll continue. Okay, let's continue with 3y equals 30. Again, we need to isolate the variable by using inverse operations. When we have a number next to a variable, I don't see any operation here. I don't see add, subtract, multiply, divide. When a number is next to a variable, it means multiply. And we need to do inverse operations to get y by itself. The inverse of multiply is divide. So divided by 3, and whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. The 3 divided by 3 is a 1, so I have 1y by itself, and 30 divided by 3 is 10. If I don't know that, I can use my calculator. So y equals 10, put the 10 right here. Again, whenever you need to pause, just pause so that you're able to take your notes. Now we have t divided by 4 equals 12. We use inverse operations to isolate the variable. The inverse of division is multiplication. And since this fraction means t divided by 4, we're going to multiply by the denominator to get rid of it. And whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So the t comes down, and 12 times 4 is 48. So my answer is 48. We're going to go ahead and flip the page. Okay, so now we should be on page 2. On our last we do before you start doing on your own. So we do 5 divided by 7, or 5 over 7, times x equals 3. I don't see an operation in between. That's how I know they're being multiplied. If we look back to our notes, we can see that when our coefficient is a fraction, in other words, when the number being multiplied by the variable is a fraction, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we need to flip it in order to do that inverse. Okay? So if it's 5 over 7, the reciprocal would be 7 over 5. If you put this in the calculator, you would see how it cancels out to 1, leaving that x by itself, which is what we want. But whatever we do to one side, we do to the other. So times 7 over 5. If you put 3 times 7 over 5 in the calculator, you would either get 21 over 5 or as a decimal 4.2. I'm just going to use my fraction as my answer. So x equals 21 over 5. So now you are going to practice. You're going to do this you do, this you do, this you do, and this you do. So go ahead and pause and complete those 4 questions, and then I will show you the answers with the work. So pause the video now and get started. Okay, here are the answers. For the first one, it was plus 7. We did the inverse minus 7, and we got 13 when we did that to both sides. For the next one, it's 7 times y. The inverse of multiplication is division. Do that to both sides, and we get 3. For the next one, it's a divided by 5. And since that's division, we do the inverse, which is multiplication, times 5 on both sides. We get a equals 150. And for the last one, it's 4 over x times x. When we have a fractional coefficient, we multiply by the reciprocal, so times 6 over 4 on both sides, and we get x equals 42. So make sure you just check your answers. If you made a mistake, it's okay. That's how we learn and grow. Just fix it now, and let's keep going. Okay, so now we're going to talk about two-step equations. Some real quick notes. It's the same process as one-step equation, but with 2 or more operations to undo. For example, here we're having adding and we're having multiplication. So we're going to have 2 steps to undo them. How do we know which operation to undo first? Whatever number is attached to the x through multiplication or division goes last. Okay, so we're going to keep asking ourselves as we work on this. So for the first one, again, isolate the variable through inverse operations. I'm going to take 9 away first because 3 is attached to the x through multiplication. So this inverse is going last. I'm starting here. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. I bring that 3x down equals 21 minus 9 is 12. Now I'm on my second step. So that was the first step, like a one-step equation. Now I can go ahead and move on to the next operation. 3 times x, the inverse of multiplication is division. And I do that to the other side. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. Reminder, use your calculator for these if you don't know it off the top of your head. Now let's move on to the next one. I have negative 4 equals m divided by 20 minus 5. How do I know what to do first? Well, the last thing I'm going to do is deal with the number being multiplied or divided by the variable. So let's get rid of minus 5 by doing the inverse, which would be plus 5 to both sides. Negative 5 plus 5 cancels out. Bring down the m divided by 20. And negative 4 plus 5 is 1. If you don't know, you put in the calculator. Here is division. The inverse of division is multiplication. If you ever need to go back to our notes, do so. So times 20 on both sides. 20 times 1 is 20 equals that canceled, so m. So that means that m equals 20. So my answer is 20. And I forgot to put this one up here. But now go ahead and flip your page. So now you do. Notice how there's less questions because a two-step equation is like a one-step equation, except there's two operations to undo. So go ahead and try your best. Pause the video. This should only take 5 minutes or less. And once you're done, unpause to check for the answers. Okay, so here are the answers. For x divided by 3 minus 10 equals 20, I start by, forgot to write that one, but inverse of subtract is add, so plus 10 to both sides. This cancels right here, so bring the x divided by 3 down. Equals 20 plus 10 is 30. I do times 3 on both sides because it's the inverse of division, and I get x equals 90. For the next one, I'm starting with a minus 5 because it is not attached to the negative 4, and this one will go last. So the inverse of minus is add, and then I add 5 to both sides. 3 plus 5 is 8. And then I have negative 4 times n, so the inverse of multiplication is division. Divided by negative 4 on both sides, I get n equals negative 2. So just check your answers, make any corrections if needed, and let's keep going. Okay, so now we're talking about combining like terms. And one thing I want to point out that's not written down is that combining is only addition and subtraction. So whenever we're combining like terms, we're just adding and subtracting like terms. To know if something is a like term, it's going to have the same variable or the same not having a variable. So pretty much we could classify our like terms as coefficients and constants. Coefficients are the number multiplied by the variable. So in 5x, 5 is a coefficient because it's being multiplied by x. In half times x, half is a coefficient, a fractional coefficient, because it's multiplied by x. So whenever we see these, we're going to circle both the coefficient and its variable. And I'm going to be highlighting it just like to help you with your understanding for this video. But you don't have to highlight it. It's just going to help you. Okay? For constants, it's a number that is added or subtracted and is not multiplied by a variable. So plus 7 or positive 7, that's a number added or subtracted. Minus 8, a number added or subtracted with no variable. So for these, we are going to do a box. You especially need to do circles and boxes because you do not have the colors. But I'm also going to highlight just to help you understand like what's happening with the numbers. So let's go ahead and turn our page. Okay, so for these, notice there's no equal sign. We're not solving for x yet. We are just going to simplify. So I'm going to start by identifying my coefficients by circling them. 5x is a like term with negative 3x. So I would box plus 2 as the constant because it does not have a variable. So I will just label these as the coefficient, and I just abbreviate it like that. And then with this one being the constant. Now the vocab is going to be important later, which is why I'm making note of it, but you really just need to know circle like terms and then box like terms. So like I said, I'm going to color it. My coefficient, I will color in this blue color. My constant, I will color in this pink color. So now we're going to combine like terms. So 5x minus 3x would give me 2x. So again, just to show you where I'm getting this from. And then plus 2 is just going to stay as plus 2 because there was nothing to combine it with. So let's redraw our expression with our new answers. So 2x plus 2, where 2x is our only coefficient left and plus 2 is our only constant left. So one more time with the coloring just to make it crystal clear where everything came from. If you need to pause the video to process this, go ahead and do so. Okay, I just put my answer in the box and let's move on with the next we do. I'm not going to color it this time. I'm just going to do it by circle and box like I would expect you to. I see a constant right here, just a positive 2 by itself. I see a coefficient right here, minus 3x. Plus 5 would be a like term with plus 2 because it's just a constant, a number, just with addition and subtraction with no variable. And then plus 10x is going to get circled because it has x. So it's a like term with negative 3x. So 2 plus 5 is 7. So I just dealt with those. And negative 3x plus 10x is positive 7x. So there's my answer. This being the coefficient, this being the constant. So I'll just put my answer in the box. 7 plus 7x. And I have to stop there because these are not like terms. They cannot be combined any further. I'm done. So now you have 2 problems to do on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, try your best, and I will show the answers when you are done. Okay, so mine is a little flipped around, but here are the answers. We have 11x plus 3, 11x being our coefficient, positive 3 being the constant. Don't let the words freak you out, guys. The more that you practice writing them, saying them, the sooner you're going to know what they are, and it's going to make algebra easier. Here I have 8 plus 10x, 8 being the constant, and 10x being the coefficient. So go ahead and just check your answers, and let's move on. Okay, so you should have turned your page. We're on page 6 now. And now we're going to put it together. So I made some steps for us to look at. At the beginning, when we had 1 and 2 step equations, our only step was use inverse operations to isolate the variable. Now we're putting a new step before that, combine like terms. So the first thing we're going to do is combine like terms. So 10 is a constant, minus 3r is a coefficient. This is everything on this side of the equal sign. I can't do anything about this, so I'm just going to rewrite it. 10 minus 3r equals, now let's see if I can combine like terms on the right side. Well, minus 4r is a coefficient, minus 10 is a constant, and minus 6 is a constant. So minus 4r or negative 4r has nothing to be combined with, so that is just going to move down. But negative 10 minus 6 can be combined. And when I combine them, negative 10 minus 6, you could just put it on the calculator, I get negative 16. Now if we see, everything has been combined because there's only one constant and one coefficient on this side. There's only one coefficient and one constant on this side. So I did my step of combining like terms. Now we're going to use inverse operations to isolate the variable, just like with our two-step equations. So I'm going to isolate r on this side. So let's start getting rid of any other numbers. So minus 10, because it was positive. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. But let's bring down the 3r, negative 3r. And then minus 10 is going to go with negative 16 because these are both constants. So I can't subtract negative 10 from here. That's why it's going under here. Again, pause at any time if you need to make notes. So negative 16 minus 10 is negative 26. And bring that negative 4r down. So now I want this negative 4r to move over here so the r's can get together so that at the end I just have r equals something. So the inverse of minus 4r is plus 4r. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. So plus 4r. Negative 3r plus 4r gets 1r equals, bring that negative 26 down. And 1r means that there's just one r, which is the same as just writing r by itself equals negative 26. So my answer is that r equals negative 26. I did inverse operations to all the operations and I isolated my variable with r equals negative 26. If you need to pause or re-watch this, go ahead and do so because next is your we do. So if you need to pause and re-watch, go ahead and do so. Once you've done that, pause the video so that you can complete. Oh wait, this is another we do. My bad. Let's do this we do together. So here I have x plus 1 plus 4x equals 26. Okay, well, we're going to do the same thing. Combine like terms and then use inverse operations to isolate the variable. So circle my coefficient and my variable, box my constant, circle my coefficient and the variable, equals 26. Well, on this side of the equal sign, it's just one constant, so everything can just come down as is on the right. Let's combine like terms on the left. Well, x plus 4x would be 5x, and bring down that plus 1. Okay, now I'm going to use inverse operations to isolate the variable. Minus 1 on both sides, minus 1 on both sides. 26 minus 1 is 25. 1 minus 1, it cancels out. Bring down that 5x. Now I have 5x equals 25. Inverse of multiplication is division. Do that to both sides. And 25 divided by 5 is 5. So x equals 5. So now if you need to pause and replay either of these, go ahead and do so. And you are going to work on your you-do problem. You only have one you-do problem. And then we're going to move on to the next thing. So pause the video. Okay, here is the answer. So I circled my coefficients, boxed my constant. There's just one constant on this side. I brought it down. Combine my like terms. 4n minus 8n is 6n. Brought down minus 48. Done with combining like terms. Time to do inverse operations to isolate the variable. Minus 48. I do plus 48 on both sides. Bring down my 6n. Multiplication is happening. The inverse is division. Divided by 6 on both sides. N equals 8 is my answer. Okay, so just check your work and let's move on. So now you should be on page 7 with our distributive property notes at the top. So distributive property is pretty much that the outside factor, which in this case is 5, is going to get multiplied by all inside terms. So we're going to do 5 times x, then we're going to do 5 times positive 2. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times positive 2 is 2. So 5x plus 2. So now we are going to do this together. 7 times x, 7x. 7 times negative 2. Always make sure that you treat a subtraction in front of a constant as a negative when doing distributive property. That's just going to make it easier, okay? So 7 times negative 2 is negative 14. And there's your answer. One more we do. Take my outside factor, multiply it by everything inside. 6 times n is 6n. 6 times positive 3 is positive 18. So 6n plus 18 is our most simplified answer. And we stop there because we know this is a coefficient, this is a constant, can't combine like terms anymore. This is the most simplified version of this. Okay, this is supposed to say you do, my bad. Go ahead and work on these 2 problems. If you need to pause and go back, go ahead and do so. But if not, pause the video to work on them, and then I'm going to show the answers in a second. Okay, here are the answers. 2 times all the inside terms would get you 2a minus 6. 3 times everything inside the parentheses would get you 3x plus 15. So these should have been pretty quick, but this is pretty much what distributive property is. Okay, go ahead and flip your page. Okay, guys, we are at the last thing that we learned last week, which is putting everything together. So we started by isolating the variable using inverse operations. And then we said, well, sometimes we're going to have to combine like terms first. Well, now we're adding that sometimes you're going to have to distribute. So this is the order that we're going to do it. Distribute first, combine like terms with circle and box, isolate the variable using inverse operations, and here's a reminder of all the inverse operations that we have. So we're going to work this one out together and solve for b, and there's only one we do because this is pretty much everything that we just did put together. And then you are going to do one, and then we're done. So let's get started. So first thing I need to do is distribute. Is there anywhere to distribute? Yes, right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Since I'm only distributing right here, I'm just going to bring everything else down. So minus 3b, positive 5, I'm going to treat this as one whole thing, times b is positive 5b. Positive 5 times positive 2 is positive 10. Bring down that equal sign. Do not forget to bring everything down. I've noticed that sometimes we forget, and then that can confuse us, so don't forget to bring everything down. 4b is not being distributed, so it's just coming down. Negative is being distributed, so we can treat this as a negative 1. Negative 1 times positive 3b would be negative 3b. And then negative 1 times positive 5 would be negative 5. So, check mark on distribute. Now we are going to see, can we combine like terms? Okay, well, let's start by circling our coefficients. So, circle negative 3b. Positive 5b also has variable b, so it gets circled. Plus 10 does not. It's a constant. Now let's move to the other side, but don't forget to drop our equal sign. 4b is a coefficient, so I'm going to circle it. minus 3b is a coefficient, so I'm going to circle it, and then I have the constant of minus 5, so I'm going to box it. So on this side, there's only one constant, and actually, let's bring this lower. Hopefully you're using pencil or you also have whiteout. I'm going to skip a line just to show my work nice and pretty. So I bring down the positive 10, and now I'm going to combine these like terms. Negative 3b plus 5b would get 2b. On this side, I can bring that negative 5 down, or that minus 5 down, because there's no other constant to combine it with. And now I'm going to combine these like terms, or these coefficients. 4b minus 3b is 1b. So now I have 2b plus 10 equals 1b minus 5. There's no more terms to combine. So I'm done with combining like terms. Notice how when we just break it down in steps, it's not so scary looking, right? So let's keep going. Last step, isolate the variables using inverse operations. I want b by itself on this side, right? b equals. So let's get it by itself. Inverse of plus 10 is minus 10. Whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Bring that 2b down, equals, bring the 1b down, and then negative 5 minus 10 is negative 15. Like I said, I want b all to one side. Let's move this over here by doing the inverse. The inverse of positive 1b is negative 1b, and 1b minus 1b, it cancels out. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. 2b minus 1b is 1b. Bring down the negative 15. If you're ever stuck here, check if you brought everything down, because sometimes we just forget, and that's okay. But make sure you check. So 1b equals negative 15. That's the same as just saying b equals negative 15, because if it's 1b, well, there's also just 1b. So b equals negative 15. So I isolated the variable using inverse operations. Anytime you confront a problem like this, it looks like a huge equation where you need to solve for a variable, just follow these steps. Distribute, combine like terms using your circle and box, isolate the variable using inverse operations. So pause the video, replay it if you need to see this again, but if not, go ahead and work on the you do. Give it your all, try your best, go step by step, and then I will show you the answer. So go ahead and pause to try it. Okay, and here is the answer. So we distributed right here. We combined like terms right here. And then we used the inverse operations to isolate the variable all right here. And we got x equals negative 6 over 13. And I highly recommend just leaving your answer in fraction form, because it's usually how they're going to ask for it anyways. But yeah, that would be our answer. And don't forget, it's okay when your answers are a fraction. If you need to pause the video and rewatch anything, go ahead and do that. But if not, then you are done for today. Do not forget to have your name on the paper, because I am picking this up and using it to improve your grade for your quiz. So you need your name, date, and period. Good job, guys.